Hello, I'm Lori Hahn, Communications Coordinator with the Guilford Public Schools. We're here today to introduce you to two of our new administrators in the public schools, and we're very excited to do so. So today we have with us Virginia Brown, who's our new Pupil Services Director. Welcome, Ginny.
Thank you.
And Jason Bowden, who is our Assistant Superintendent of Operations. Welcome, Jason.
Thank you very much.
We just want to take a few minutes today to introduce you to both of these fine people and talk a little bit about their transition into Guilford and what they've been doing and what they're planning to be doing in the future. So, ladies first. Our first question will be for Ginny. You've been here for, I guess, about 6 weeks now.
About 6 weeks, yeah.
Yeah. So, how's it been going? How have you been spending your time making this transition, and what's it been like for you?
Well, Guilford's been great. It's been extremely busy,
I
but
bet
very
it has.
exciting. And basically, over the last 6 weeks, I've had opportunities to meet with different staff members, families, students. I've had a chance to visit all 6 schools, obviously. I've attended PPT meetings. I've attended some department meetings at the various schools, some of their special education meetings at the various schools. I've met with some of the related services groups, and I plan to be meeting with some of them coming up in the very near future.
Sure.
And getting to know people, really, and getting to know a little bit about the community. I'm still desperately using my GPS to navigate through the streets of Guilford.
It's a big town to get around.
Yeah. So, but it's been very exciting, and I'm so happy to be here.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. That's great. We're happy to have you.
And I'm looking forward to meeting more people. And in fact, tonight I'm doing a meet and greet at Leeds for some of the families, and it'll just be an opportunity to come and put some faces with some names, and so that I can see them and they can meet me, and we'll have a little bit of conversation, but mostly just to kind of to meet each other.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
That's great. It's we have such a well-respected special ed system in Guilford, and it's wonderful that you're here to guide us.
Everyone has been extremely welcoming.
That's great. Glad to hear it. And Jason, you're almost a veteran now, having been here for 2 months.
Yes.
So I guess I'd ask you a similar question. How's the transition been for you, and how have you been spending your time?
It's been a wonderful transition coming in at the beginning of January. And to really reiterate what Ginny said, it's been a great transition, and I think a fairly smooth transition. I've spent a bulk of my time just getting to know Guilford, getting to know the school community as well as the greater community.
Right.
I've been heavily involved in the new high school project and working with the various committees around the new construction for the high school.
Right.
I've also been engaged with the Board of Finance and working with them not only through the budget process, but also in terms of just our annual review of the budget every month. I've worked very closely with Andy Potocny before he left, and I want to really take this moment to say thank you to Andy for just the extensive kindness that he showed in terms of his time and working with me and transition and getting to understand the operational side of business in Guilford, and learning from him is really truly a wonderful experience, and knowing that he's only a phone call or an email away, and he's been wonderful, as is everybody in district. I work closely with Linda Trudeau, who's our business manager, and Donna Costello on the human resources side, Rachel Floyd in payroll, and certainly Cliff Gurnham and Sharon Milroy in benefits. So it's really an all-encompassing position. And really my goal in the last 2 months was really just getting a better understanding for the district and how it operates and the culture in Guilford, and getting to meet people both in town and in the system. And it's been highly rewarding. People have been extremely welcoming and willing to assist in any way.
That's great. And as you were kind of explaining, your position is a little bit different. When Andy Potocny retired as our finance director, the position was restructured a little bit so that your position as Assistant Superintendent of Operations encompasses not only finance, but also human resources.
Correct. There are 3 primary areas of focus in the operational side. It's working with Cliff Gurnham in the Facilities and Operations Department. It's working with Tim Cipriano, the head of Food Services, and working with Donna Costello and Rachel and Sharon on the human resources side. So not only payroll and benefits, but also in hiring all positions within the district, which is really afforded me an opportunity to work very closely with the building principals when they've been going through interviewing, and even with Ginny in the hiring that she's done within her department. So, you know, I'm actively engaged in all levels within the district and finding it very exciting and very very interesting for me, because my experience has been, you know, for the last several years as a high school principal and taking on those responsibilities on a building level, and now to work in a broader range within the district has been really just a tremendous experience for me, and I love it. It's great.
That's great. That's terrific. Ginny, there's been so much conversation in the district and in the community about continuing to expand our services in special education and being able to offer more services and increasing our capacity in-house for special education. Can you talk a little bit about that and what we've been doing in that regard in the district, and perhaps a little bit about your experience with that?
And Dr. Freeman and I have had lots of conversations about this. This is basically something that I actually have had lots of experiences in, because in my former position as the Director of Special Services in Stonington, we were grappling with some similar challenges. And one thing that I found, which I truly believe we can also do in Guilford, is we found that we could provide better supports. Kids could be successful in our public schools as opposed to sending them to other organizations and schools outside of our public schools. And it also helps to integrate them more closely into the communities in which they live, which is our ultimate goal always. So I really am excited about some of the programs that have begun just recently, before I was even here, one of them being at an elementary program called Bright Connections. The program has been extremely successful. Dr. Freeman and I have had fabulous feedback from parents, from teachers, from staff members, and really from the whole school community, which is ultimately what we are charged with doing in terms of creating inclusive schools where all children can be successful. So that is very exciting. We're also in the process of a partnership with CREC and also with the Clinton schools and the Madison schools to develop our own 18 to 21 transitional program that will focus on developing vocational skills for students as well as life skills. And that's exciting because basically what we're trying to do by that time, by that age, is to emulate as closely as possible as in terms of what their life will look like after 21 and after they leave the Guilford Public Schools. And we're hoping that these children will make connections to area communities, whether it be Guilford or a nearby community, and find supported employment, competitive employment, so that they can be active citizens with very meaningful experiences after they leave the Guilford Public Schools. So that's exciting for us too. And that program will be beginning this summer. We're also looking at developing, and this is one thing that I have had experience in doing in Stonington, is developing more of a continuum of services so that students have different opportunities, so that if the traditional high school or school experiences, that's challenging for them, or it may be a struggle, we're looking at putting programs into place that will better support these students, but still allow them access to a public education, a Guilford education, which I know is so highly respected, and allow them to participate to their potential in their home schools. So we're really excited about some of the different programs that we're going to be looking at doing. And our hopes is to reallocate some of the funding that has been spent in other ways to develop these programs, so that it's not a huge budgetary impact on our community, but using the funding for our schools to increase our resources and supports here.
That's great.
Yeah, it's very exciting, and it's one of my favorite things to do. So. Well,
that's really interesting, and as I said, I know it's been talked about, and I know the conversations have gone on for many years in that regard. So it's exciting to see those things happening.
It is. Yeah. And it makes kids and families and staff feel good about what we're doing, and quite honestly, I know that we can do it better here than what's offered sometimes in other places. So
That's great. That's great. Jason, you've had some time now to talk to staff, and I know I had talked to you a little about a month ago, and you were meeting with staff, and I'm sure you've gotten some great ideas from staff, and you've gotten some input. So I know it's still early. It's hard in just 2 months to. You've got a lot on your plate. But what are some of the things areas of focus that you think you're going to be concentrating on as you're moving forward over the coming months?
Sure. I think in my role, it's supporting and how best I can support, initiatives that, Ginny's working on with her department. And I think that the first phase of any entry into a district is really what we had spoken about before, and that's you have to understand the culture you're coming into, and I think the last 8 weeks, to speak to your point, that's what we've been doing. We've been looking at where Guilford has come, where they currently are, understanding the dynamics of the town, the school system. I mean, they're all unique, and wherever you are.
Right.
And under the domains, the 3 areas that I'm responsible for, you're putting those pieces together, and I think that. Being new in a district, is really a good thing, I think, in some respects, in that you can bring a new perspective. And one of the things that each of us have been doing with Dr. Freeman and with Dr. Keene and our colleagues throughout the district is asking those questions, and saying, well, here's been my experience in this, and here's what I've seen has worked and what hasn't worked. And I think we're starting to apply that. Now, a concrete example of that would be, probably a large area of my focus, and that's the business side. We're entrusted with public funds. It's my job to work with the various boards, including the Board of Education and the Board of Finance in the town, to make sure that we look for efficiencies wherever we can.
Right.
So, one of the things that I've been focusing on is just looking at systems in place that we have within the district to see, are we maximizing the utility of each of these systems? And if we're not, in what ways can we provide professional development to fully utilize? For example, our Munis system is our operating system for the economic side of the district.
Right.
I'm currently being trained, in the use of Munis, as will portions of our faculty and support staff that have access to that, so that we can best utilize that program. That's a minor example, but a big one in the long run.
Sure.
I think the other piece is, how do we best support those that are working with our children every day, and what does that mean, and what can we do for them to make sure that their interaction with the students and teaching and learning is such that they have everything that they need to be successful in their endeavors. So, my 8 weeks have really been focused on where we've been, where we are, and now working with Dr. Freeman as to where we want to be, and make sure that my initiatives co-align or coexist with the goals of the district and the town.
Sure. Okay. Ginny, what do you see as the biggest challenges and opportunities for pupil services? And I don't want to put a time frame on this for you. I'll let you, answer the way you feel most comfortable. But over the coming months or years, what do you think will be the biggest opportunities?
Yeah, well, one of the things that Guilford did, which actually Stonington had done also, was to do the futures audit of special services in Guilford. And that's a very helpful document, because an outsider comes in and takes a look at, some of the things Jason was talking about. What systems are in place? What are we using our resources and our supports as efficiently as possible? And by using that report, it's been able to help me set some goals and areas to look at that, possibly we can do things better in some of those areas. We can make some improvements. And so I will be using that report to look closely at some of those areas in terms of support services, the continuum of services. Are we providing the least restrictive environment for our students when we're making decisions at planning and placement team meetings? So that's one area that I'm very interested in looking at over the next few years and continuing that work. and looking closely at those recommendations. We had talked before about creating those continuum of services and designing programs that better support all of our learners and in our classrooms and in our schools. So we'll continue that work. And then finally, the other thing, Jason alluded to this or talked a little bit about this, is how are we supporting our teachers and how are we supporting these classrooms that we're asking our students to be pushed in, so to speak, into. How are we differentiating instruction? How are we providing for all the students in that classroom? And what does the continuum of learning look like in that classroom? So I do think that the teachers would benefit from some more professional development in that area. Eventually, I'd like to see many, many more co-teaching relationships in Guilford. There are some, and it kind of varies from building to building, but increasing people's capacity for that so that the special ed teachers are true strategy specialists and instructors in the classroom, and the general ed teachers are content specialists, and they're really partnering to work together. And then, of course, I want to continue to develop relationships and partnerships with the families in this community so that we are ensuring as teams, when we meet and we make decisions, that we're doing what's best for kids in the most appropriate settings.
Sure. That's great. Sounds like a good plan to me.
That'll keep us busy, which is a good thing.
Keep you busy.
Yeah, I'm excited about the work.
Yeah, absolutely. That's wonderful. And Jason, what do you think are going to be the most important things facing our district? You know, from your perspective, what do you expect that you'll be tackling in the coming, months and years?
Sure. I think it's the same thing in Guilford that all towns, in Connecticut are facing right now, and that's the reality of the economy, and how that's trending. The concern, over the fact that, we have a finite amount of resources to use, and we've got to, use them efficiently to be able to, again, provide quality instruction and a quality education to all of our students. And I think with the state being in the current state that it is in terms of its budgetary problems, that a town like Guilford is not going to be receiving the reimbursements that, say, other towns may. So our challenge is going to be, how do we manage our resources to the best of our ability, and two, incorporate all the initiatives that are coming from the state. Everything from secondary school reform to the Common Core to now school security concerns, and that on top of administrative and teacher evaluations, which are going through a comprehensive paradigm shift, all of which means that resources need to be allocated maybe in different ways. So the greatest challenge is, how do you focus on the needs of children, achieve the goals that you have as a district in conjunction with mandates that are coming from both at the federal level and the state level, to be able to do all those things and do it within a budget. I think that will continually be a challenge for districts. But to Jenny's point, Guilford has a long history of collaboration between the boards. The town has supported education, throughout the years. It has really been a great experience to work with the town side, and Joe Mazza and Matt Hoey on the Board of Finance, and to really work collaboratively with the interests within the town to be able to work to the same end, and that's to the benefit of the citizens of Guilford. So I really look forward to that, and I welcome the challenge. It's certainly something that you can't do by yourself. You do it with the help of good people around you. Right.
That's great. Well, it's been a pleasure, getting to know you both, and I know that you've made a wonderful impact so far, in the district. I mean, in central office.
Thank you.
It's been wonderful, and we're looking forward to great things to come. So we appreciate your time today.
Thank you.
And everyone in the community, I'm sure, is looking forward to the opportunity to either bumping into you or formally meeting you. So we hope that takes place soon. In general, if anyone in the community would like more information about Guilford Public Schools, you can always go to our website, which will be shown at the end of the program. And we thank you, as always, for joining us.